Getting a rustic look on galvanized and steel. Here we have a galvanized sign that we picked up from the hobby store, and we've done one other of these, and we found out that during sanding we actually got through a lot of the galvanized coating. So we went ahead and went with 80 grit and really kind of broke down through that barrier, tried to get most of the galvanized off as well as all these lines for the states. And here we have what we're up to. We got most of the galvanized coating off, but we didn't get all of it off, and that's okay. We're going to play with that to our advantage because patinas that we're going to use work differently based on what they have on them. So steel is going to work differently than galvanized. We still got to do our basic cleaner with the Sculpt Nouveau metal cleaner and the Scotch-Brite pad, but we're going to end up using the Japanese brown, the tan, and the ferric nitrate patina. So Japanese brown will work on steel, but does not work on galvanized or zinc. The tan will work on both, as well as the ferric nitrate works on both, but they work differently based on which metal. So we're going to go ahead and heat this up. And do remember and take precautions when you're heating up zinc. Even though we got the galvanized section off of this side, it's still galvanized on the other side. And in the patina industry, we kind of used the zinc and galvanized interchangeably. I know there's a huge difference, but as far as patinas go, they pretty much work the same. So just be careful making sure you don't heat this up too much. You don't want those fumes going into the air there. So once this is heated up and up to temperature, I'm going to go in with the Japanese brown. And again, we got most of the galvanized off, so this is going to do a lot of the work for us. We're going to get a real good base. So it needs to be about 180, 200 degrees, and here we're squirted on. You can see it just kind of misting off. That's what we want. That is perfect Japanese brown temperature, and in general, perfect warm or hot patina temperature. You can see the more patina we put on or the more heat, the darker it will go. But overall, we're getting this really nice rusty effect, and this actually kind of looks pretty good in my opinion already, but we're going to continue doing stuff, getting rid of more of those steel or galvanized patches that are showing through. And we're just going to try and keep warming it up because we got a little extra Japanese brown on the surface. Get it back up to temperature, and then we can hit it again. And we're going to go back in with some of the Japanese brown in some of these areas, make sure we're getting good reaction. And I like starting with a darker base when I'm going to add the tan later. Really adds a lot of depth to it. You can see when you're not up to temperature, and right there where the torch was just at, it really goes a little bit darker as you kind of bake the Japanese brown on there. Here I'll point out a few of the areas where the steel isn't showing through. Those are all galvanized that are showing through. Again, Japanese brown doesn't do anything on galvanized. That's all the steel section. So here we're going to go in with the ferric nitrate, and we're doing it hot, and ferric nitrate again will work on both. But you'll see those more silvery patches, we'll call them, disappear now that the ferric nitrate is going to do something to it. You can see here that the metal wasn't quite up to temperature, so we're going to have to kind of bake the patina onto the metal. But overall, that's just going to give us a little bit of a darker finish. And like I mentioned before, when we go in with the tan, I like to do that just to make sure that we get a lot of depth, because the tan's going to lighten everything up. You can start to see where the steel is getting affected by the ferric nitrate, but also where the galvanized is getting affected by the ferric nitrate. Remember down there in Florida where I just hit, both sides were galvanized, so we're kind of pulling that brown in a little bit more down there to the east side of Texas, as well as some parts up in California area. Those were all galvanized, and you can see that color difference. Now we're going to go in with our tan. And I hardly ever use the tan at 100%. It's just a little too concentrated. I almost always mix it with 50% distilled water. So it's a 50-50 mix. It just makes it a little bit easier to work with because otherwise it's just too impactful. So you can see I went over this entire thing, but we're still getting some yellow and some browns popping through from the patinas before. And we'll put that away, and we're actually going to go back with the Japanese brown now. It just takes a little bit of tan just to make this work. So here we'll go back, and the Japanese brown, once it goes over the tan, usually does this kind of really orangey rust tones. Again, you can hit it with more Japanese brown and keep piling it on, and it'll go back to the dark brown rust. But this is one of the reasons why I like using the tan. It will do a lot of that movement and characteristics of it. But again, we're going to go back with the ferric nitrate as well, and that will give us even more rust tones. So that's what I'm really after here, is just a multitude of different rust colors. You can see a little bit of that tan showing through still, but it just gives it a little bit more of a rust tone. So the tan actually gets a little bit of a misrepresentation because it is really concentrated. So it's meant to be that way because if you want tan, that's what you'll need. But for using it just to assist other patinas, you really need to dilute it. Again, with distilled water, I prefer a 50-50 mix, and that puts it right where I need it to be. And here we're done with the patina process. If we wanted to keep it light like it is now, we can use the environmentally friendly version of ClearGuard. This is a project I'm doing for the house, and I've got a little bit darker tone in the room it's going to go into, so I'm going to use the normal version on the ClearGuard, which tends to darken slightly some of these lighter tones. So we're going to use the regular version instead of the environmentally friendly, just to, again, match my personal need. So here we have our final piece, and really like the way this came out with all the highs and lows, the lights, the darks. Japanese brown, ferric nitrate, and tan are all available at www.sculptnouveau.com.